everyone and welcome to this video on cloud computing for beginners. Cloud computing is everywhere today, powering apps, storing data and running businesses worldwide. But what exactly is it? And how can you be a part of this fast-growing tech revolution? So in this video, we will break down the fundamentals of cloud computing in simple and beginner-friendly way. You will learn what cloud computing is, how platforms like AWS work, what skills you need, and how to build a career in this exciting field. We will also talk about top certifications, high-paying roles, and tips to get started even if you have no technical background. So let's dive in and explore the future of technology, the cloud. But before that, let's quickly walk you through what we will cover in this session. So first, we will start with the basics, understanding what cloud computing really means, how it works, and why it's transforming the tech world. Next, we will explore Amazon Web Services, the leading cloud provider. You will learn about its services, pricing model, and how to use AWS for real-world tasks. Then, we will look at the career opportunities in cloud computing, the roles available, average salaries, and why cloud skills are in such high demand. After that, we will cover the essential skills you need to succeed, from technical knowledge to soft skills that matter. And finally, we will reveal the top 5 certifications that can boost your resume and help you stand out in the cloud job market. But before we begin, please like, share and subscribe to Edureka's YouTube channel and hit the bell icon to stay updated on the latest tech content from Edureka. Also, check out Edureka's Cloud Architect certification course, which equips you with the skills needed to design, plan and scale cloud-based solutions effectively. Through the Cloud Architect Masters program, you will learn how to build and manage systems that are secure, scalable, reliable, and aligned with business objectives. With over 200 hours of live and self-paced learning, you will dive into 10+ essential courses, including Python, AWS architecture, DevOps, and more. You will also get hands-on experience with 20+ industry tools and a capstone project to build real-world skills. So check out the course link given in the description box below. So now, let's get started with our first topic, that is, what is cloud computing?
So let's begin by learning what's cloud computing. Well, cloud computing is the delivery of cloud services, including servers, storage, databases, networking, software, analytics, and intelligence over the internet to offer faster innovation, flexible resources, and economies of scale. You can access cloud computing services through a web browser using your internet connection and a cloud provider, or even through a cloud-based application. These services can be used to store, manage, and process data, as well as to run applications and entire IT infrastructures. This allows users to access data and resources remotely and enables organizations to scale their computing resources up or down as required, reducing the need for expensive on-premises IT infrastructure. One of the benefits of cloud is its accessibility from anywhere. You can have a developer on the other side of the world and he'll still be able to use your cloud services and log in using just the login console. On top of it, the scalability factor is also something that makes cloud very attractive to adopt. So why opt for cloud computing? Well, let's start by listing those reasons and by comparing on-premise versus cloud computing first. Well, if you're an organization, you will need to set up your own IT infrastructure, and physical servers take space. With cloud, there's no need for you to buy your own servers and maintain them. The cloud is also highly scalable, which means that as your usage grows, you can easily get the required resources on demand, and scaling down is also as easy. Therefore, you end up saving costs and you pay for what you use. It's that simple. This also leads to another point, and that is that you don't need to hire a team to maintain your infrastructure. Well, if you had set up on-premise infrastructure, you would need to hire a huge team to maintain all of that. And this is completely eliminated using cloud services. Well, coming on to our next point, with cloud, you have the option to recover data with disaster recovery mode. If you maintain physical servers, there's less chance of data loss, but it still exists. And if you don't continue properly with the backups, the data loss can turn into a critical event. Clouds have essentially turned this into a better way to operate for small or big businesses alike. Also with clouds, there exists better security protocol, and you have more flexibility in how you want to structure your infrastructure. So you can handle your infrastructure any way you like with ease. Clouds are also easy to set up compared to managing your own infrastructure on site. so the time cloud saves is huge. You can also collaborate less with on-premise infrastructure management. Whereas with cloud, you can have a developer on the other side of the world and they will still be able to collaborate with you. And finally, clouds have automatic software updates. With on-premise, you might have to do this manually while ensuring that your current infrastructure works without problems. Now let's talk about the advantages of cloud computing for a minute. Well, obviously, cloud computing is cost effective. You only pay for what you use, and the scalability factor really makes cloud a very attractive choice for businesses with ridiculous amount of traffic. Next, cloud providers also have large data centers with many servers and resources that are designed to handle a high volume of data and traffic. This means that cloud-based applications and services can run faster and more efficiently than those that are hosted on premises. Additionally, cloud providers often use advanced technologies such as content delivery networks, often called CDNs, to distribute data and resources to users based on their geographical location, which can further speed up the access to data and applications. This can be especially beneficial for businesses or organizations that serve a global audience, as it allows them to deliver content and services to users faster and regardless of their location. Another advantage of cloud computing is high accessibility. With cloud computing, users can access their data and applications from anywhere with just the internet connection. This means that employees can work remotely and businesses can serve customers and clients from multiple locations. This brings us to another advantage of cloud computing, and that is it eliminates the need for expensive on-premises hardware. With cloud computing, organizations can access computing resources remotely through the internet and don't have to invest in maintaining or upgrading the physical servers, storage devices, or other hardware. Cloud services are also typically easy to set up and get started with, as they often come with pre-configured templates, and many providers offer simple web-based interfaces, making it very easy to create and manage resources. All of these factors contribute to the ease of implementation of cloud computing, making it a very convenient and accessible option for businesses and organizations of all sizes. Now, let's look at the types of cloud computing. Well, to categorize cloud computing, you can differentiate them between two types. First is the deployment type, and the other one is the service model. Under deployment type, you can say that you have three types of cloud computing, and that is private, public, and hybrid cloud. Under service model, you can say that cloud services are of three types, which is SaaS, PaaS, and IaaS, which stands for software as a service, platform as a service, and infrastructure as a service, respectively. So, under the deployment model, the first type of cloud is the public cloud. This is accessible to the general public and doesn't have any sort of restricted access. Public cloud is a cloud computing service that is provided by a third party provider and made available to the general public over the internet. Public cloud services are typically provided on a pay as you go or subscription based model, allowing organizations to only pay for the resources that they use. A private cloud is a cloud computing environment that is dedicated to a single organization, and that means that it is built and maintained by the organization itself or by a third party provider who works on behalf of the organization. A private cloud provider offers many of the same benefits as public clouds, such as scalability, cost effectiveness, and accessibility, but with added security and control. The organization has full control over the environment, including the hardware, software, and networking components, and can configure and customize the environment to suit its specific needs. Private clouds are often used by organizations that have a strict security or compliance requirements, or that handle sensitive or confidential data. They offer more control over the environment, which means that organizations can better ensure that their data and resources are protected. They also offer more control over the environment, which means that organizations can better ensure that their data and resources are protected. Now, coming on to a third type of cloud, which is the hybrid cloud. A hybrid cloud is a combination of a public cloud as well as a private cloud, where some resources are hosted on premises and some are hosted by a third party public cloud provider. Hybrid clouds allows organizations to take advantage of the scalability and cost effectiveness of public clouds while maintaining control and security over sensitive or confidential data and resources that are kept on premises. Hybrid clouds allows organizations to use public clouds for services which are non-sensitive in nature. This can help organizations to keep sensitive data and applications more secure while still taking advantage of scalability and cost effectiveness of public clouds. Hybrid clouds also allows for flexibility and ease of integration, as organizations can use the same tools and technologies to maintain both on-premises and cloud-based resources. This can simplify management and make it easier to move workloads between the public and private cloud as needed. Hybrid clouds also allow for better disaster recovery, as data can be replicated between on-premises and cloud resources, providing an additional layer of protection in case of a failure in the on-premises system. Now let's look at the types of service models in cloud computing. Software as a service. This service model provides access to software applications over the internet, typically on a subscription-based model. SaaS providers typically handle the maintenance and upgrades of the software, as well as the underlying infrastructure. Example of SaaS providers includes Salesforce, Microsoft Office 365, and Google G Suite. Now, coming to our next, which is the platform as a service. Well, this service model provides a platform for developing, running, and managing applications without the need to maintain and manage the underlying infrastructure. PaaS providers typically offer a range of tools and services such as databases, development frameworks, and analytics that can be easily integrated and used to develop and run applications. Examples of PaaS providers include AWS Elastic Beanstalk, Microsoft Azure App Service, and Google App Engine. Now coming on to a third service model, which is infrastructure as a service. This service model provides virtualized computing resources over the internet, including servers, storage, and networking. Organizations can use IaaS to provision and manage their own IT infrastructure without having to invest in and maintain on-premises hardware. Examples of IaaS providers include AWS, Microsoft Azure, and the Google Cloud Platform. And here you can see some of the leading cloud providers. AWS has the highest market share in cloud space, but Google is also entering this space. Alibaba has also made a stride in the cloud computing services a few years ago, but as of now, the three main giants in cloud space are undoubtedly Google Cloud Platform, Amazon Web Services, and Microsoft Azure. And now, let's look at the life cycle of developing a cloud computing solution for a problem. First is that the problem statement is dissected to define the purpose of the solution. This involves breaking down the problem statement into its individual components and analyzing how the problem will be solved. The next step is to define the hardware requirements for the problem statement. It is important to have an infrastructure that is fault tolerant and is resistant to high incoming requests and process them well. Then comes defining the storage requirements. This is responsible for data storage and ensuring that backups occur so that we don't run out of space. After it, the networking aspects are taken into consideration. It is critical to create a proper channel so that everything is connected and functions well. And this also needs to be addressed, the security. It is one of the most important steps. As cybersecurity jobs have increased over the past few years, there is a reason for it, as there have been more and more attacks on the companies. And these cyber threats needs to be addressed by restricting access and maintaining how authentications are done. Because if we lose customer data or company data to hackers, it makes a big dent in the company's image globally or wherever they may operate. Then we define management processes and tools to see what is going on and how everything is functioning. Later we test the processes. We build the solutions, highly test them, and ensure that errors don't occur. And after quality controls are passed, we deploy the solutions built. And finally, we analyze everything using analytics and improve the processes further while reducing the cost as well. And now, let's move on to the demo section where we will host a website from files downloaded from S3 bucket. This problem actually comes from the problem statement that goes something like this. A person wants to transition to cloud. How does it do it? This is one of the most common yet intelligent questions, and we will see how we are going to do this. So the person needs to transition to cloud. And for this, they will need one server, which means that one EC2 instance will be required. And whatever data they may have, let's suppose that that is stored in the S3 bucket. So what we need to do is we need to load the data which is stored in the S3 bucket, which is supposed to be the old data that the person wants to transition to the cloud, and load that data into EC2 instance. So here, what we are gonna do is we'll start by launching our instance first. So if you haven't logged into your AWS console, just go to your AWS management console and go to EC2. Now here, I'll provide it, let's say I provide my server the name ed1 server. And now for the OS type, I'll just select the default, which is Amazon Linux. Now I'll just go down and I'll select in the key pair. Now for the key pair, I'll just be using my old key. And if you haven't created a key pair before, you can just do that by clicking on this button right here. Now for the network settings, I want to allow the HTTPS and HTTP traffic from the internet. Now with all of that done, let's launch our instance. Now, while our instance is launching, let's understand what we need to do. So as per the problem statement, the data that needs to be transitioned to cloud needs to be stored in the S3 bucket. So here I have my Amazon S3 buckets, and in that I have this website dash samples dash one. And in this bucket, I have stored some HTML files, as you can see here. So what we need to do is that we need to load this HTML files and make that just available on the EC2 instance that we just launched. And now that we have a success message, let's see our EC2 instance. Now for this EC2 instance, I'll be using �MobileXterm to just log into it. Now you can also use PuTTY, but I tend to use �MobileXterm because it has a lot more features than PuTTY. So let's wait for it to load. And here I'll just click on the sessions button and let's select SSH because we want to SSH into our instance. Now let's select this instance ID, and what we need to do is that we need to copy this public IP address. So let's just copy this, and in the remote host I'll just paste this, and for the specify username I'll just provide ec2-user. Now what we'll do is that we'll load our key here. So let's do that. And I have a previously created key pair, so I'll just use that. And after everything is done, let's say session name should be server, customize tab. I'll select pink, and yeah, let's hit OK. So by doing this, what we are essentially doing is that we are logging into our instance. So this instance that we created right here, now we have logged into it. So the first thing that we need to do is that we need to install Apache server on this because we want to host a website, and for that we need Apache. So to do that, what we'll do is we'll install HTTPD service, which is basically Apache. And for that, I'll just type in sudo su so that we become super user. And if we type in who am I, it should say root. And now let's install Apache. So yum install -y httpd .x86 underscore 64. Now this should install Apache here. Now that it's complete, what we need to do is that we need to start the service and we need to enable it. And I'll do this by typing systemctl start httpd service, and then I'll enable this. And with that, what should happen is that you should now be able to go to this. So what we'll do is we'll just open this address, and now we should be greeted with the Apache page. Yeah, so that's it. Here we go. So this is the test page that we get. And if you are able to see this, it means that Apache is working properly. So now what we need to do is that we need to load this HTML file onto our instance. So to do that, what we need to do is first of all, we'll need to create an IAM user so that we can have programmatic access for this. So to do that, let's go to IAM. And under IAM, we'll create a user with the permission to programmatically access. Until we do that, let's type in the command AWS configure so that we can control our AWS right from the console. And let's create the access key and the secret key. So here, let's add in the user. And let's provide it a name, space manager or something. Let's hit next, attach policies. And what we need to do is we need to provide the policy of S3 full access because we are going to be downloading data from it. And let's create this user. So let's click on the space manager user. And what we'll do is we'll create our keys. So under security credentials, I think we should be able to do that. So here we'll just click on create access key and let's choose CLI, hit on next and create access key. So here we get our access key and we'll load this into our instance. And as you can see, I have typed in AWS configure previously. So now for the secret key, and with that we should be done. So now for the final portion, what we need to do is we need to copy the data from here and load it into our Apache server. And the way we do that is by typing in AWS S3, then we'll sync in the data, and then I'll provide it my bucket name. Afterwards, I'll just load it into my Apache location. And with that, it should be done. So it says here that download was complete, etc., etc. So now let's go on to our Apache page again and let's hit enter. And as you can see, the page that we had stored in the S3 bucket has been loaded. So now we can also navigate to the sample2.html file by typing in, just provide a slash here and then type in sample2.html. And as you can see, the second page is also loaded. So what you can essentially do whenever such a problem arises that you want to transition to cloud, you can just download all of your data to the S3 bucket and then load it onto your instance that whichever you are running.
So what exactly is AWS? Well, AWS is Amazon Web Services and it is one of the best cloud service providers in the market. Well, it is a complete software suite or a cloud service provider which is highly secure. It provides you with various compute, storage, database, and n number of other services, which we would be discussing in further slides as well. And when you talk about the market, it is the best and it has various reasons to be the best in the market. One being its flexibility, its scalability, and its pricing. Other reasons being its compute capacity. Now, why is it so important, the compute capacity? Well, if you talk about the compute capacity, you need to understand one thing. If you take all the other cloud service providers in the market and you combine their compute capacity, that is, you leave out AWS and you take all others into consideration, the space would be somewhere equal to say X. And if you compare it with AWS, it is 6X. So AWS has more compute capacity, which is 6 times more than all the other service providers that are there in the market. So that is a huge amount. So these are the reasons that make AWS one of the best in the market. And let's try to find out what are the other reasons about AWS that make it so good. What are the services, features, and its uses basically. So I would be discussing some use cases now. If you're talking about a manufacturing organization, now their main focus is to manufacture goods, but most of the businesses, they focus so much on various other services or practices that need to be taken care of that they cannot focus on the manufacturing goal. Now this is where AWS steps in. It takes care of all the IT infrastructure and management. That means businesses are free to focus on manufacturing and they can actually go ahead and expand a lot. Architecture consulting. Now, their main concern is prototyping and rendering. AWS takes care of both the issues. It lets you have automated or speed up rendering as far as prototyping is concerned. And that is why architectural business benefit a lot when you talk about using AWS or any cloud provider. But AWS being the best in the market, again, their services are the best. Media company. Now, as far as a media company goes, their main concern is generating content and the place to dump it or to store it. Again, AWS takes care of all these situations or both these situations. Large enterprises. When you talk about large enterprises, their reach is worldwide. So they have to reach their customers and their employees globally or across different places. So AWS gives you that option because it has a global architecture and your reach can be very wide as far as these points are concerned. Now, advantages of AWS. As I've mentioned, I won't say advantages exactly. I would say features as well. Flexibility. Now, as far as AWS is concerned, it is highly flexible. Now, there are various reasons to support it. And one of the major reasons is it's very cost effective. Let us try to understand these 2 points together rather. Now, when you talk about flexibility, the first concern you should have is you are dealing with big organizations. They have a lot of data that needs to be managed, deployed, and taken care of. Now, when you talk about a cloud provider, if it is flexible, all these things are taken care of. The second thing is it is highly cost effective. Now, when I say cost effective, AWS takes care of almost every aspect. If you are a beginner or a learner, they have something called as a free tier. That means you have sufficient resources to use for free, and that too for 1 long year. So you would have sufficient hands-on without paying anything. Plus, it has something called as pay-as-you-go model. Now, when I say pay-as-you-go model, what it does is it charges you only for the services which you're using and only for the time being you're using them. Again, that lets you scale up nicely and hence you end up paying very less. Since you are paying very less and since you have so many options when you're actually buying its services, what that does is that gives you a lot of flexibility. Scalability. Again, the first 2 points are related to this point. Now, how is that? Now, when I say scalability, what happens is, as I've mentioned, it is very affordable. So you're paying on hourly basis. If you're using a particular service for 1 hour, you'll be paying it only for 1 hour. That is how flexible it is. And what that does is that gives you a freedom to scale up and even scale down. Since it is easy to scale up, it is always advisable that you start with less and then scale as per your needs. Plus, there are quite a few services that are there which can be automatically scheduled. Now, what that means is you'd be using them only when there is an uptime, and in downtime, you can miss those get automatically shut down. So you do not have to worry about that as well. So when you talk about scalability, scaling up and down is very easy as far as AWS goes. Security. Again, now security has been a topic of debate when you talk about cloud services especially. But AWS puts all those questions to rest. It has great security mechanism, plus it provides you with various compliance programs that again help you take care of security. And when you talk about real-time security, even that is taken care of. You can take care of all the suspicious activities that are there, and not you, AWS takes care of all those things, and you're let free to focus on your business rather. So these are the advantages which I feel that AWS adds value to. And apart from that, there are quite a few other points, like we have automated scheduling, which I just mentioned. You have various integrated APIs. Now these APIs, they're available in different programming languages, and that makes it architecturally very strong to switch from one programming language to another. So these are some of the features I feel that make AWS a wonderful, wonderful service provider in the market. So let's move further and try to understand other things as far as AWS is concerned. It's global architecture. When you talk about AWS, as I've mentioned, it is the best service provider in the market. So what makes AWS this popular? One of the reasons is its architecture. Now, when I talk about its architecture, it is very widely spread and it covers almost every area that needs to be covered. So let's try to understand how it works exactly. Well, if you talk about AWS architecture, now the architecture is divided into two major parts, that is regions and availability zones. Now, when you talk about the regions and availability zones, regions are nothing but different locations across the world where they have their various data centers put up. Now, as far as one region goes, it might have more than one data center. And these data centers are known as availability zone. You being a consumer or an individual, you can actually access these services by sitting anywhere in the world. To give you an example, if I'm sitting in some part of the world, say for example, I'm in Japan right now, I can actually have access to the services or data centers that are there in US right now. So that is how it works. You can choose your region and accordingly you can pick your availability zones and use those. So you do not have to worry about anything. Domains of AWS. Now, when you talk about its domains, the first domain that we are going to discuss is compute. And when you talk about compute, the first thing that should come to your mind is EC2. Now, when I say EC2, it is Elastic Cloud Compute. And what it does is it lets you have a resizable compute capacity. It's more of a raw server where you can host your websites, and it is a clean slate. Now, what do I mean by this? Say, for example, you go ahead and buy a laptop. It is a clean device where you can have your own OS. You can choose which OS you want and all those things. Accordingly, your EC2 is again a clean slate and you can do so many things with it. Now, next you have Elastic Beanstalk, which lets you deploy your various applications on AWS. And the only thing you need to know about this thing is you do not have to worry about the underlying architecture. Now, it is very similar to your EC2. And the only difference between the two is as far as your Elastic Beanstalk is concerned, you can think of it as something that has predefined libraries, whereas your EC2 is a clean slate. Now, when I say predefined libraries, say for example, you want to use Java. As far as EC2 goes, now this is just an example, don't take it literally. You'll have to say, for example, install everything from the beginning and start fresh. But as far as your Elastic Beanstalk is concerned, it has this predefined libraries and you can just go ahead and use those because there's an underlying architecture which is defined. Let me say it again. I just gave you an example. Don't take these sentences literally. Okay, I have a question here. What Ashwin says is, can you tell me something about Lambda? Okay, Lambda is again a compute service. You need to understand one thing, that it is again similar to these services, but Lambda cannot host websites and all the tasks it performs happen in the background. So yes, again, it is a very important cloud service. I missed out on it, a compute service rather. And yes, it is very popular as well. So next we have migration. When you talk about migration, you need to understand one thing. AWS has a global architecture and there would be a requirement for migration. And what AWS does is it lets you have physical migration as well. That means you can physically move your data to the data center which you desire. Now, why do we need to do that? Say, for example, I'm sending an email to somebody. I can do that through internet. But imagine if I have to give somebody a movie. So instead of sending it online, I can actually go ahead and give it to someone if that person is reachable for me. And that way it would be more better for me. My data remains secure and so many other things. So same is with data migration as well. And when you talk about AWS, it has something called as Snowball, which actually lets you move this data physically. Now it's a storage service and it actually helps you in migration a lot. Security and compliance. Now, when you talk about security, we have various services like I have IAM, we have KMS. Now, when I say IAM, it is nothing but your identification and authentication management tool. We have KMS, which lets you actually go ahead and create your own public and private keys, and that helps you keep your system secure. Now, there are quite a few other services as well, but I would be mentioning one or two services from each domain because as we move further in future sessions, we would be discussing each of these services in detail. And that is when I would be throwing a lot more light on these topics. For now, I would be giving you one or two examples, and because I want you all to understand these to some extent. Getting into details of all these things would be too heavy for you people because there are quite a few domains and quite a few services that we need to cover. And as we move further, definitely we would be covering all those services in detail. Then we have storage. Now, when I talk about storage, again, AWS has quite a few services to offer to you. We have something called as your S3. Now, S3, it works as a bucket object kind of a thing. Your storage place is called as a bucket and your object which you store in are nothing but your files. Now, these objects have to be stored in their root files, which act as the buckets basically. And then we have something called as your CloudFront, which is nothing but your content delivery network. We have something called as Glacier. Now, when you talk about Glacier, you can think of it as a place where you can store archives because it is highly affordable. Next, we have networking. Now, when you talk about networking, we have services like VPC, Direct Connect, Route 53, which is a DNS. Now, when I say VPC, it is a virtual network which actually lets you move or launch your resources. That is your AWS resources basically. When you talk about Direct Connect, you can think of it as a leased internet connection which can be used within AWS. Next on this list, we have something called as messaging. Yes, AWS assures secured messaging, and there are quite a few applications to take care of that as well. Now we have something called as Cloud Trial, we have OpsWorks, all these things, they help you in messaging or communicating with other parties basically. Databases. Now storage and databases are similar, but you have to understand one difference. When you talk about your storage, that is where you store your executable files. So that is the difference between the two. And when you talk about databases, we have something called as your Aurora, which is something which is very SQL like, and it lets you perform various SQL options at a very faster rate. And what Amazon claims is it is 5 times faster than what SQL is. So yes, when you talk about Aurora, again, a great service to have. We also have something called as DynamoDB, which is a non-relational DBMS. And when you talk about non-relational DBMS, I won't be discussing that, but this helps you in dealing with various unstructured data sources as well. Next on this list, we have the last domain, that is the management tools. Now, when you talk about management tools, we have something called as CloudWatch, which is a monitoring tool, and it lets you set alarms and all those things. Hopefully today, when we are done with the demo part, you'd be having at least one part of your CloudWatch covered, because we would be creating alarms using CloudWatch today. So stay tuned for that as well. So this was about AWS and its basics, as in the points which we just discussed, that is what it is, its uses, its advantages, its domain, its global architecture. So yes, guys, what I've done is I've gone ahead and I've switched into my AWS account. The first thing you need to understand is what AWS does is it offers you a free tier. Now, while I was talking about these things, I just rushed through it because I knew that I was going to give you a demo on these things. So, and I wanted to discuss this thing in detail. Now, when you talk about AWS, if you're a beginner, this is where you start. Now, what AWS does is it provides you with its free tier, which is accessible to you for 12 months. And there are quite a few services which we just discussed, which are available to you for free. And when I say free, there's certain limitations on it, as in these many hours is what you can use it for, and this is the amount of memory or storage you can use in total, and all those things, and its capacity and everything. Based on that, you have different instances which you can create and all those things. Now, what AWS does is it gives you these services for free, and as long as you stay in the limits that AWS has set, you won't be charged anything. And trust me, when it is for learning purposes, that is more than enough. And let's quickly go ahead and take a look at these services first, and then there are a few other points which I would like to discuss as well. But firstly, the free tier services. Now see, this is what it has to offer to you. 12 months of free and always free products. When you talk about EC2, which is one of its most popular compute services, 750 hours, and that is per month. Next, you have Amazon Quick Site, which gives you 1 GB of spice capacity. Now, I won't get into the details of these things, as in what spice capacity is and all those things. When you have time, I would suggest that you go ahead and explore these things, as in what do these things do. Today, we are going to focus more on the EC2 part. So for now, let's quickly take a look at these one by one first. Amazon RDS, which gives you 750 hours of your T2 micro instance. Amazon S3, which is a storage, which again gives you 5 GB of standard storage, and AWS Lambda, 1 million free requests per month. So there are some of the videos here actually which would introduce you to these things that would help you get started with how to creating an account and all those things. And this is the other important point which I would like to mention. When you do create an AWS account, the first thing you need to consider is they would be asking you for your credit card details. So how does the login process work? Firstly, you go there, you give in your email ID and your basic details, as in why do you want to use it and all those things. Next, what it would do is just to verify your account, it would ask you for your credit card details. Even the debit card details work. I've actually tried those. So you can go ahead and give your credit card or debit card details. And when you do that, what it does is it subtracts a very small amount from your account. I did this in India and I know that I was charged 2 rupees, which is fairly less. And that was again refunded back to me in 2 to 3 working days. The only reason they cut those 2 rupees was just for the verification purpose that my account is up and running and I am a legitimate user. Now, as long as you stay in the limits, you won't be charged anything. But if you do cross those limits, you'll be charged. Now, you might be worried, as in, what if I do cross the limit? Would I be charged? Yes, you would be. But the fact is, you actually won't go beyond it. And even if you do, you'll be notified saying that you are going about the limit or above the limit. Even when your free subscription ends, you're notified saying that, do you want to enter your billing details and do you want to start billing? And if you say yes, only then you would be charged for the subsequent months. And that is a very stringent process. You don't have to worry about it. That is, you won't be losing out on any money as long as you follow these rules. So if you do not have an account, my suggestion would be you go ahead, you log into AWS and create your free tier account, which is a very easy and 2 to 3 step process. Once you've done that, these are the services that are available to you, and you can go ahead and use all of these services on your own. Next, we have something called as your simple monthly calculator. Now, this is a very useful app to have. What it does is, whatever service which you are going to use, you can enter in the detail and accordingly you'll be given the price as well. Now, this is something for use after your free tier ends, so that you know that if I have to use these services, how much would I be charged? And this thing will tell you in total. Now, if you can take a look at here, you have these services. Say, for example, I want to add an EC2 service. An instance gets added here. I can put in the description. Now it is Linux T1.micro instance, and this is what my monthly cost is. I can go ahead and I can change the number of instances here to suit my need, and accordingly everything would get verified as in, okay, this is the cost and all those things. So if I enter these values, my AWS calculates all the values accordingly for my storage, for my compute, and there are the other details which you can go ahead and fill in here. And once you've done that, you can actually come here and you can check your estimate monthly bill, because once you save those details there, or once you calculate those details, here would be your monthly expense, because you would be dealing with more than one instances. So your different costs are added together and a total is given to you here. And you can actually go ahead and save it and share it with others, because yes, you might be required to exchange these details with some of your colleagues or whatever it is. And to do that, you have an option here as well, which is provided by AWS. There was a query on Stack Overflow once, as in, can I do that? And AWS quickly responded by going ahead and solving this issue and giving them with this save and share button. So yeah, this is your calculator, your monthly AWS calculator, which lets you take care of your usage and gives you the bill accordingly. So if you're worried about as in how much you're going to spend by using AWS or its services, you can always come here and calculate that as well. Now, that being said, let's quickly move to the demo part and see what all we can do with the AWS. Now, I have my account here and I've logged in actually. So these are the services that are there at my disposal rather. So I'm just going to go ahead and open one of these. Say, for example, I open my EC2 service. My internet is a little slow today, so yep. As you can see, I have one running instance, I have one key pair, I have 3 security groups. As we move further, we would be dealing with these and we would be implementing or creating new instances and all those things. So firstly, what I want to do is I want to go ahead and create a key pair. Now, why do I need to do that? The first thing you need to understand is when you create a key pair, what you're doing is you're actually going ahead and you're creating your SSH key. Now, when I say SSH key, that is something but a secure shell key. Now, this key is very useful when you talk about certain OSs, because that helps you establish your connection. When you talk about Windows, you do not need to do that. So, but still you would be needing an SSH key. Now, you might wonder why. The reason you'd be needing it is because given on the longer run, even if you're using Windows, you'd be required to put in an admin login, and for that you'd be requiring this key anyways. If you're on using this application on your Linux OS, in that case, it is a must that you generate the key first. One more thing you need to understand is once you generate this key, you need to take care that you do not lose it, because once it's gone forever. So that is one precaution you need to take. So let's first start by creating a key pair here. And as we move further, you'd understand why did I create one. So I say create my second key, because I believe I've created a key in this account prior to this. Second key, I say create, and there you go, I have a key. Now my second key is something which I basically have it here. I'll just cut it from here and I'll paste it in one of my folders basically. So let's say I'm here and I say I need a new folder. I come here, I say AWS demo, and I put my key in here. I would be needing this, that is why I'm doing it. Now you can see that the extension here is .pem. You might get other extensions depending upon the system which you're using and the OSs that it's running or using. So depending on that, this extension might vary. It's preferable that it is .pem. So yep, we have this key now, and let's see what we can do with it. I'm gonna go ahead and select this key, unselect this for now, and I have all the information as far as this key is concerned. Now, as I've already mentioned that security is very important when you talk about your cloud services. So it is very important that you define a proper security group to take care of all these things. So before we create an instance, let's quickly go ahead and create a security group first. I come here. I've actually gone ahead and created a security group. So I would want to go ahead and create one more. So I would say create. Now, when I do that, I need to give in a name to it, say this security for today's demo. I say security demo description for reference sake is what I would say. There you go. And we'll be going ahead and adding in rules here. And then where do I want certain rules? Because you can go ahead and define certain rules. How do you want to give access to your system and all those things? So I say, as far as my accesses are concerned, I'd be wanting an SSH rule. See, the port range is given to you because you can communicate with the system through these ports basically. And then I can go ahead and add more. I can say HTTP. There you go. I say I would be needing HTTPS as well. And since I'm using Windows, I would go for RDP. Now, these are the different port names that are there. Now, as far as these groups are concerned, so you can see that this has 00000 security because you would be wanting these ports to be available to others as well. Because why? You're dealing with data exchange and all those things. So these are the ports that need to be active. Now you have your SSH and your RDP. Yes, for now they're secured here. I can actually go ahead and change it here for the simplicity sake. If I have it something like this, or maybe like this is how it would look like. And for the sake of being easy to use, I'd be having it like this. But as far as you are concerned, you need to consider better practices for this. You have different sources here. Why? Because you have an option to customize it. You can go ahead and customize those because there are certain services which you would be wanting to use differently, and it is very important that your system is secured because since certain services would be accessing your data, it is important that access is denied to them in certain cases where it's not required. And that is why you need to consider your security practices. Now, as far as this demo goes, this is a basic thing which we are doing, and we can ignore our security policies here. This is just for the demo sake, and I would be creating a simple security group. So this sources, bear with it for now. Now I say create, and there you go. My security group is created. It is security demo here. That is the name. Now let us move further and go ahead and create one of the instances that we can do. So I go to services, I say EC2, and I say launch an instance or create an instance. Now there are quite a few instances here. We have Linux and all those things. I would be going for Microsoft Windows. Let me just go ahead and pick one. We can actually go ahead and pick any. The only thing we need to consider is whether it's eligible for you. Now, when I say eligible, I mean eligible for your free tier basically. So let us go ahead and pick one of these. I would say base 2012 server. Let us see whether it's doable for us. Yep. Now this is selected by default because it's free tier eligible, and we're actually going to go ahead and use it. Now, when you're creating an instance, you need to understand one thing. These are the details that are there about the instance, and these are some of the points you need to consider. When you say review and launch, you can just click on it. You would directly be taken to the last step, and all the by default admits are given to you. But now that we are doing it for the first time here, I would want to do it step by step. There's nothing we are doing. We are just selecting the by default thing, but I just want you to see what all it has to offer to you. Say, for example, when you pick a general purpose T2 instance, number of CPUs, 1, your memory, 1 GB basically. And these are the other details as in network performances, low to moderate and all those things. So I say next. These are the details which I can enter in as in the number of instances, purchasing options, network, subnet, and all these things. Is there an IAM rule and all those things? So yeah, for now, I'm not going to make any changes again here, and I'm just going to say next. As you can see the size, I have 30 GBs of total available with me. And these are the details about it, IOPS and all those things. So you can just go ahead and say next. Now you have an option here whether you want to go ahead and add a tag and all those things, and you can do that. Or you can just go ahead and say next. You have a wizard here. And there you go. I have my 7th step where I can go ahead and launch my instance. You can see I have a notification here saying that improve its security. As I've mentioned that we are doing it for the demo sake, and I've chosen few basic ones. So I do not have to worry about anything. My ports are open, and those are accessible. So the thing is, my AWS is warning me as in you should not have it that way. So when you do go ahead and implement it on larger scales, you need to take care that your security groups are well defined and properly defined. For now, let's go ahead and say launch. Now it would ask you to pick a key pair. As I've mentioned, that key pair is important whether you're using it on Windows or not, but you need to go ahead and define a key pair. So I would go ahead and select an existing one because we created one. Proceed with a key pair. Okay. I say I acknowledge and I say launch. And it says that your instance is now launching. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and view the launch log, and it gives me details as in what are inbound rules and all those things are mentioned here. How do I connect to my instances and all those things. There's an information here. I can just go ahead and say view instances. And there you go. I have both of my instances here and the details are given to me as in what are the details. Now I've gone ahead and I've stuck with this availability zone as far as I'm concerned, which is Mumbai for my case. You can go ahead and pick an availability zone for your sake, but make sure you stay consistent with it because that would be more convenient for you. That is for your different instances. Status checks as far as this goes. Everything is okay here. This was the instance which I launched yesterday. This is the one which I've launched today, which is still initializing. So there you go. You have one here. Yeah, so this was about going ahead and creating an instance as far as AWS is concerned. Now, what we can do is we can go ahead and try and do other things as far as your AWS is concerned. Now, the other points which we need to discuss are, can we connect this instance to a server? And the answer to this question is yes, we can do that. Meanwhile, what I want is I want my instance to refresh first and everything needs to be in place before we do that. Yeah, so there you go. Now as you can see the status checks, as far as the checks are concerned, it is complete and we can go ahead and we can connect to a server now. So I was talking about the different servers that you can go ahead and connect to. Now, if you're using a Linux machine, you need to understand one thing, that you have to go ahead into your terminal and then you have to connect to your server. But when you talk about Windows, the process is a little different. Let us see how we can do that using Windows. Say for example, I select this instance here, the second one, I say connect. So what I'll have to do is I'll have to go ahead and download a remote desktop file for that. And how do I do that? I do this. I say connect. It would be asking me for my admin password here. It would give me an error because I need the password here, and I guess I missed out on the password. Just bear with me. Let me just generate the password and I'll get back to you on this. Okay, so how do I do that? What I'm going to do is I'm going to get into my previous instance, this one, and I'm just going to connect or try to connect it because I have one here already. So as you can see, I have this option here which says get me a password. As far as my administrator or username is concerned, it is administrator. And when I say get password, I'll be clicking here and it would be asking me to choose a file. Say for example, I go ahead and I choose one of the files. Now I had downloaded the password last time, or the key rather. Now that is why you need the key. When you store it at some place, you'd be asked for this key and you have to enter it here. And when you say decrypt password, there you go. You'll be getting your password here, which is this. Now I would be copying this password for my reference sake. Control C, just to give you a demo again. I'll download it. I'll close it. And I would say connect. It would ask for the admin password and I say take this. Do you want to connect despite these certification errors? Yes. And there you go. I've connected to the server here and this is the file which I created the last time. There you have it. So this is how you go ahead and actually create your instance and connect to the server. You can go ahead and create another files here. You can say new, you can have your options. It's just like your nice operating system where you can do so many things. Yes, it's more of a clean slate and it's fully available to you to go ahead and edit it the way you want to. So this is what we did right now. We've actually gone ahead and we've created an SSH key. The reason we did was because we wanted to log in here. Second thing, we went ahead and we created a security group. Yes, it wasn't great, but you can actually set security rules as per your needs. Then you can go ahead and launch your instance and then you can connect to a server you want to. Now this is what I have here. I can actually go ahead and do other things as well. What are the other things that I can do? Well, I can go ahead and I can set alarm for my systems. And how do I do that? Now I have something called as my CloudWatch here under my management tools. Now when I come here, I can go ahead and set alarms as well. What kind of alarms? Say for example, I want to monitor my system and I want to make sure that the usage as far as my system is concerned, it does not go above maybe say 70%. And if it does go above 70% and that happens for 5 continuous minutes, I want my system to throw in an alarm for me. So can I do that? Yes, I can actually go ahead and do that. I can create an alarm and I can do that accordingly. I click here on alarm. I say my EC2 metrics basically, or I just type EC2 here. All the services are here. And since we are creating an alarm for utilization, let's select that. You get all the details here as in how much is the usage and all those things. You can come here and define the alarm name, say CPU usage greater than 70%, say, and you say throw an alarm when usage exceeds 70%. There you go, 70. And I move down and I say notify me. How do I do that? Send notification to new list. Suppose I enter in some email ID. Now take this for example. Suppose I go ahead and use this account here and I say create an alarm. Okay, there has to be a name as well. Say VPT for example. And congratulations, your alarm has been created. It says insufficient data because there's pending information here. You need to understand one thing. When you do create an alarm, the email ID you enter in, AWS would go ahead and it would give in a message to the email ID or in the email ID saying that this is something that is trying to happen here. Do you want to be notified when the usage goes this far? And if the user says yes, or he or she confirms that that can be done, in that case, AWS would configure this status saying that yes, it is no longer pending, and the status would be displayed here and this would turn to green. So this is how you actually go ahead and create your own alarm as far as AWS is concerned. So I hope you've understood this part.
First thing we talk about is why should you pursue a career in cloud computing? In today's world, somebody trying to pursue a career in cloud computing has a very bright future because 96% of large companies in the world with global operations such as Facebook, Google, Apple, these guys have moved to the cloud. So in the next few years, we'll see all organizations moving to the cloud because it's so much more scalable and cost effective. So significant expansion in cloud technology has made business operations much more scalable and cost effective, and that is the aim of cloud computing, right? So there is this huge demand for cloud computing professionals to develop and maintain these systems for these organizations, right? So if you're basically using cloud, you need people to basically take care of those systems that are holding your data, right? And finally, we see that the desired skill set basically in the current market is cloud computing. And if you know cloud computing, you're a very desirable candidate for your employer. So this is a very hot topic in technology in the current market. Next, we come to prerequisites of pursuing a career in cloud computing. So the first thing we see here is that to pursue a career in cloud computing, you need to have a good grip of programming, right? Along with that, you need to be familiar with the concept of how database works, and you'll have to have a good grip on the basics of security and privacy as well. Because every organization using cloud has to have somebody looking at the security of the cloud as well, because data integrity is extremely essential for every organization, and this basically means that business agility is directly affected. Also, along with all this, you will have to have some sort of networking basics. The most important prerequisites of all are having programming skills and database and security knowledge as well. Apart from that, you will have to have a knowledge of agile development process that are there. So this is a software development process which you will have to know about if you want to pursue a career in cloud, right? So next up, we come to the top cloud computing careers that are there right. So the top cloud computing careers that are there right now are many. There is the cloud administrator. So this is a guy who basically manages and develops the company's cloud presence, right? Every company using cloud needs to have a cloud presence. So this is the person responsible for that. Followed by a cloud architect. So cloud architect designs and implements the cloud computing strategies that are there for the organization, right? Then we have the cloud automation engineer. A cloud automation engineer builds and implements along with maintaining the automation technology as it migrates to the cloud. So even if you're building and maintaining automation technology for your organization, you will basically have to move it to the cloud if your organization uses cloud. And that is what a cloud automation engineer does, right? Next up is the cloud consultant. So, what a cloud consultant does is that a cloud consultant will assess the company's needs for a new software or a new device which best meets the needs that they require. And that is what they do. They assess the company's needs and then decide, right? And then finally, we have cloud security analysts. So basically, every organization that has moved to cloud will have to have a security analyst who will ensure the integrity and security of the company's cloud presence and the data that is there, because data integrity is extremely important. Next up, we have the top cloud service providers. So the first top cloud service provider is AWS, that is the Amazon Web Services. That is the cloud services provided by Amazon. And they are top right now with over 80% companies using them. Along with that, there is Azure, which is by Microsoft, and Google Cloud, which is the cloud platform for Google as well. Apart from that, we have Phoenix Snap and Adobe Creative Cloud, along with IBM and Huawei as well. And then we have VMware, P Cloud, Alibaba Cloud, and then finally we have Kamatera. So these are the cloud service providers that are there, and AWS, Azure, Google Cloud, and IBM are the top four cloud service providers that are there right now. So, of the many market trends that are there, here are some which we will discuss. The first market trend that we see nowadays is that multi and hybrid cloud environments will continue to grow, right? So, what we see in 2021 is that enterprises have stopped moving to one cloud vendor for their needs. They have gone to multiple cloud vendors to best meet their needs, because today it is all about how scalable you can make your operations and how cost effective you are, right? So the next thing we see is that retaining compliance in a complex environment. So cloud environments are really complex, and you need to basically have some sort of visibility so that you can maintain the integrity of the data and therefore improve business agility, right? So organizations will make cloud savings a priority right now, because the worldwide revenue from cloud has been growing by 17% to around $266.4 billion. And this is basically because the decentralized model of consumption that is raised by costs, right? So the next trend we see is that it is all about solution focused partners. Now we see that in cloud computing, there has to always be a third party present, right? So if you want to host your applications and your web pages and whatever it is, then you can basically have a third party who will host them for you. So if you have a third party who basically meets your demands and needs, you can basically focus towards a common goal, and that basically increases business agility. And finally, we see the trend that there is a continuous shift to tech on demand. So nowadays we talk about AI and ML, and soon after there's going to be another shift, and then another, and then another. What we're trying to say is that the change in cloud computing or in technology never stops, and there always will be this trend of continuous change in the technological field. Right now, it is all about AI and ML and DevOps. So these are the current hot topics in the market right now. So the next thing we talk about is the salary statistics, right? So if you're talking about India, Karnataka, Mumbai, and Tamil Nadu are the IT hubs in India, right? So if you're working in Tamil Nadu for a cloud service provider, you will average a salary of around 4,27,000. Then we come to Mumbai, where you'll average a salary of around 7,19,119. Finally, we come to Karnataka, which is the IT hub of India, and here you will earn around 9,14,678 if you're working in cloud. So if you have around 0 to 3 years of experience, you can expect a salary package of around 12.4 lakhs. Whereas if you have around 4 to 6 years of experience, you can expect a salary package of 17.4 to 19 lakhs, right? And finally, we come to the future scope of careers in cloud computing. So if you're looking for a career in cloud computing, the future is very bright. The cloud computing market in India is at $2 billion and is expected to grow at a rate of 30%, right? So as 2021, the cloud computing market is expected to reach around $4 billion, right? And create more than 1 million jobs in the country. So if you're looking to be a cloud engineer or cloud architect or to pursue your career in cloud, then this is the moment for you.
As more businesses shift to the cloud, the demand of skilled cloud professionals is skyrocketing. If you're looking to build a successful career in tech, understanding the key skills needed for cloud computing is absolutely essential. Let's dive in and explore the key skills you need to succeed in this field. So first up, let's talk about cloud platform expertise. Whether it's AWS, Microsoft Azure or Google Cloud, having in-depth knowledge of these platforms is crucial. These platforms offers a wide array of services that are essential for designing and managing scalable cloud applications. Whether you are deploying virtual machines, managing databases, or building cloud-based applications, understanding the ins and outs of these platforms will set you apart in the job market. By becoming proficient in platforms like AWS or Azure, you will be able to design cloud architecture that meet the specific needs of businesses, ensuring they run efficiently and cost-effectively. So now that you have got the foundation of the major cloud platforms, let's talk about automating and deployment of cloud infrastructure. So the next skill that we will discuss is infrastructure as code. As cloud environments grow more complex, managing and deploying infrastructure manually becomes impractical. That's where IAC tools like Terraform and AWS CloudFormation come in. These tools allow you to define and automate cloud infrastructure using code. With IAC, you can quickly provision resources, replicate environment, and scale applications. This is a game changer because it ensures consistency and reduces human errors, making a cloud management more efficient and streamlined. Moving on, no matter how great your infrastructure is, security is always top priority in the cloud world. With the vast amount of sensitive data being processed in the cloud, cloud security skills are non-negotiable. AWS IAM, Azure Active Directory, and Google Cloud Identity are just a few tools that help to manage access control and enforce security policies. You will also need to be well versed in compliance frameworks like GDPR, HIPAA, and SOC 2. Being able to ensure your cloud environment meets these compliance standards will help to protect the data and maintain the trust with customers and stakeholders. Next, let's move on from securing the cloud to building scalable and portable applications in the cloud. So containerization and orchestrations are vital in cloud computing. With Docker for containerization and Kubernetes for orchestration, cloud professional can package applications into lightweight containers that can run anywhere. This makes deployment faster and more consistent across the different environments. Kubernetes in particular allows you to manage containerized applications at scale, handling everything from automatic scaling to self-healing applications, whether you are working on AWS, Google Cloud, or Azure. Mastering Docker and Kubernetes will be a huge asset in building cloud-native applications. So now that your applications are scalable and portable, let's look at how we can accelerate their deployment. Let's talk about DevOps and CI/CD practices. Continuous integration and continuous deployment have revolutionized the software development cycle. Tools like Jenkins, GitLab CI, and Circle CI allow the cloud developers to automatically integrate and deploy code, ensuring that the updates are made efficiently and without downtime. These practices streamline the deployment process, enabling faster releases and more reliable cloud applications. If you are working in cloud computing, knowing how to implement CI/CD pipelines is absolutely essential. So, while automation helps you in deployment, you also need to be able to run applications without managing the server manually. This is where serverless architecture comes in. Instead of provisioning servers to run applications, you can use AWS Lambda, Azure Functions, or Google Cloud Functions to run code in response to events. This means you only pay for the time your functions are actually running, making serverless computing highly cost-effective. Serverless architecture allows the developer to focus solely on writing the application code, while the cloud provider automatically handles the infrastructure. It's perfect for scalable, event-driven application in the cloud. So now we know cloud computing is all about automation and effective management. But how do you ensure everything is running smoothly? Monitoring and logging are crucial for maintaining cloud environment. Tools like AWS CloudWatch, Prometheus, and Grafana gives you a real-time insights into health and performance of your cloud application. The ELK stack helps you to log management, allowing you to track issues, detect anomalies, and troubleshoot quickly. Being proficient in these tools ensures that the cloud systems are running optimally and the issues are identified and resolved as soon as they arise. So with cloud computing, managing data is just as important as managing the infrastructure. So let's talk about databases next. So whether it's SQL or NoSQL, cloud professionals need to understand how to manage the databases. AWS RDS and Azure SQL Database are excellent managed SQL services, while MongoDB and DynamoDB are leading NoSQL databases. So cloud computing allows the databases to be highly available and scalable, and the ability to configure, maintain, and optimize these databases for peak performance is becoming increasingly essential. As more businesses rely on cloud databases, this expertise is high in demand. Now, let's have a look at the networking side. In cloud computing, networking and content delivery are crucial for ensuring data is transmitted effectively. Cloud platforms like AWS VPC, Azure Virtual Network, and Google Cloud VPC are setting up private networks. You will also want to leverage CDNs like AWS CloudFront and Azure CDN to ensure your content is delivered quickly. No matter where your users are, these tools will optimize the performance by reducing latency and improving the user's experience. So now let's talk about automation, another key aspect of managing cloud environments. Cloud automation is key, and scripting tools like Python, Bash, PowerShell, and AWS CLI can help to automate common tasks like provisioning resources, configuring environments, and managing the deployments. Automation ensures that you spend less time on manual work and more time on building and optimizing the cloud solutions. So now, as we move toward the future, technologies like AI are making their way into cloud computing. Cloud providers offer powerful AI ML tools such as AWS SageMaker, Azure AI, and Google AI. These services make it easier to integrate artificial intelligence and machine learning models into cloud-based applications, enabling the businesses to leverage data for predictive analytics, natural language processing, and more. So if you're interested in working with cutting-edge technologies, gaining expertise in AI ML in the cloud is must. And finally, let's talk about managing workloads in multiple cloud environments. With businesses using multiple cloud providers, hybrid cloud and multi-cloud strategies are becoming more important. Tools like VMware Cloud, Google Anthos, and Azure Arc allow you to integrate and manage workloads across the multiple clouds. This reduces dependency on single vendor and provides greater flexibility and resilience. So yeah, there you have it, the must-have skills for cloud computing careers in 2025. Mastering these skills will not only make you a strong candidate for cloud computing jobs, but also equip you with the tools to excel in a rapidly growing industry.
Cloud computing is a technology that provides access to various computing resources over the internet, including server, storage, and software. It offers scalability, cost efficiency, and accessibility, transforming how businesses manage IT resources. As mentioned earlier, major providers like AWS, Azure, and Google Cloud provide various services to meet diverse needs. The cloud computing industry offers many job opportunities as organizations increasingly rely on cloud technologies to drive their operations and digital transformation efforts. And the key roles include cloud solution architect, cloud engineer, cloud developer, cloud security specialist, cloud DevOps engineer, and many more exciting job opportunities. These roles offer innovation and attractive compensation packages, with Glassdoor data revealing that cloud engineers in India typically earn between 5 lakhs to 13 lakhs per year. At the same time, In the United States, they make around $114,000 annually. So let's now explore the top 5 cloud certifications. First in the list, we have Amazon Web Services Solution Architect Associate. The AWS Certified Solution Architect Associate is an ideal entry point for those with experience in AWS technology, strong on-premises IT background with knowledge of cloud migration, and experience in other cloud services. By pursuing and achieving this certification, you will demonstrate expertise in various AWS services, including computing, networking, storage, and databases. You will also showcase your ability to deploy and manage workloads, implement security measures, and utilize AWS tools like Management Console and CLI. Additionally, you will gain an understanding of the AWS Well Architect framework, network security, and the global AWS infrastructure. This certification will empower you to identify the right AWS services for specific technical needs and define requirements for AWS-based application. Let's go over the exam's essential details. This certification is at the associate level and you will have 130 minutes to complete it, and it comes with a $150 fee. You will face 65 questions which can be either multiple choice or multiple response. Check out the AWS certification training course for solution architects from Edureka, which provides live interactive learning, lifetime access, hands-on project-based learning, and much more. As previously discussed, the AWS Certified Solution Architect Associate certification encompasses the key skills. So in Edureka's AWS certification training course, you will also learn vital skills like designing identified solution, managing security, designing data storage solutions, and monitoring cloud solution. This comprehensive training includes hands-on experience with Amazon EC2, AWS VPC, AWS Lambda, and more tools. Check out the link in the description for more details. Next on the list, we have Microsoft Certified Azure Solution Architect Expert. So now let us go through the certification overview. As a Microsoft Azure Solution Architect, your expertise covers various aspects of Azure such as compute, network, storage, monitoring, and security. Your role involves translating business needs into Azure solutions that align with the Azure Well Architect framework. You collaborate with different job roles like developers, administrators, security engineers, and data engineers. To qualify for this certification, you need to advance knowledge of IT operations including networking, visualization, security, business continuity, disaster recovery, data platforms, and governance. You should also be proficient in Azure administration, development, and DevOps processes. Skill measured are designing identity, governance, and monitoring solutions, designing data storage solution, designing business continuity solution, as well as designing infrastructure solution. You will hold the job title of Solution Architect, and it will require candidates to hold one certification, with a mandatory exam being AZ-305. Also check out Edureka's Microsoft Azure Architect Certification Training course AZ-305 that equips you to excel in the new Microsoft Azure AZ-305 exam, which now replaces the retired AZ-303 and AZ-304 exams, earning you the Azure Solution Architect certification. This course empowers you to skillfully design cloud architect solutions with Microsoft services. Our Azure All-in training covers a range of tools including Microsoft Azure, Azure SQL, VMs, app services, and virtual networks. To know more about this training course, do check out the link in the description below. Advancing, we have a Google Cloud Professional Cloud Architect Certificate. Cloud architects drive business success by harnessing Google Cloud technologies to design, build, and manage secure, scalable solutions. The Professional Cloud Architect Certification exam evaluates your skills in designing and planning cloud solutions, managing and provisioning cloud infrastructure, ensuring security and compliance, and optimizing technical and business processes. Now let's have a look at the exam overview. The certification exam lasts for 2 hours and costs $200 with option for English and Japanese languages. It includes 50 to 60 multiple choice and multiple select questions and 2 case studies assessing real-world scenarios. You can take the exam online from a remote location or on-site at a testing center without prerequisites. However, having at least 3 years of industry experience is recommended. including 1 year of designing and managing Google Cloud solutions. Explore Edureka's GCP certification training course offering expertise in identity and access management, virtual machine, Google Cloud solution, networking, content delivery, load balancing, and more, along with essential tools. For more details, check out the course link in the description below. Next, we have the Salesforce Administrator Certification. The Salesforce Administrator Certification is a foundational certification offered by Salesforce. It is intended for individuals who want to demonstrate their proficiency in managing and customizing Salesforce applications. Salesforce administrators play a crucial role in configuring, maintaining, and optimizing Salesforce solutions for their organizations. Let us go through the Salesforce Administrator Certification Exam overview. The Salesforce Administrator Certification Exam lasts for 105 minutes and consists of multiple choice questions. It's considered an intermediate level test that covers a wide range of Salesforce administration topics with no strict prerequisites. But practical experience and official training resources are beneficial for success. To pass, you need to achieve a passing score determined by Salesforce. The key skills covered in Salesforce Administrator Certification include user management, data management, security and access control, sales and service cloud, workflow and process automation, and many more. You may also check out the Salesforce Certification Training course by Edureka. This online Salesforce training, which is designed by industry experts, will prepare you for the Salesforce Administrator Exam CRT 101 and the Platform App Builder CRT 403 certification exam. You will also learn how to personalize your application by customizing page layout, fields, tabs, and business processes. Create a secure Salesforce environment, maintain and import clean data, create high-value report and dashboards, and set up the workflow automation. For a complete overview of the skills addressed in this training course and in-depth information, please visit the course link mentioned in the description box below. Moving on to the next certification, we have a Microsoft Certified Azure DevOps Engineer Expert. The Microsoft Certified Azure DevOps Engineer Expert certification is a prestigious credential that validates an individual's expertise in implementing and managing DevOps practices using Microsoft Azure tools and services. This certification is designed for professionals who work with Azure DevOps and Azure services to build, deploy, and maintain applications with a focus on automation, continuous integration, and continuous delivery. The Microsoft Certified Azure DevOps Engineer Expert AZ400 certification exam is around 150 minutes long with a mix of question types. It measures your skills in instrumentations, SRE strategies, security, source control, CI/CD, collaboration, and monitoring. You may also check out the Microsoft Azure DevOps Certification Training course by Edureka. Prominent multinational corporations including Microsoft, HCL, KPMG, Accenture, and others employ Azure DevOps for constructing robust cloud infrastructure. Check out the curriculum designed by the expert, the link to which is in the description box below.
And with this, we have come to an end to this session on cloud computing for beginners. If you enjoyed listening to this video, please be kind enough to like it, and you can comment on any of your doubts and queries. We will reply to them at the earliest. And do look up for more videos and playlists and subscribe to Edureka's YouTube channel to learn more. Thank you for watching and happy learning.